growing up as a kid, yeah. All a nigga wanna have was a Burberry scarf and $3 in my pocket. Instead I got beat with a switch, but I don't give a fuck, but it's on my body. Scars all up on me, but I run around from.
So the Jacksonville Jaguars still refuse to trade edge rusher Yannick Ngakoue. It makes no sense to me. Now, a lot of Jacksonville Jaguar fans keep saying, oh, I like this decision by the front office. Make him play, make him suit up, make him sign that franchise tag, and if he doesn't want to play, then he just doesn't play football this year. Now, I understand the logic by Jacksonville Jaguar fans, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. Why would you want to keep a guy who simply doesn't want to be there? Why? So, worst case scenario, Yannick Ngakoue doesn't play, and Jacksonville Jaguars probably get like a compensatory pick for him. When you could have traded him when he first wanted to be traded, maybe get like a late first round or early second round pick, but instead you want to keep him, and people in your front office want to argue back and forth with him on Twitter. You got people in your front office, grown men, grown professional businessmen, arguing with players on social media. This is why the Jacksonville Jaguars are one of the worst ran franchises in the NFL. You see, I've lived in Jacksonville for almost my entire life. And the Jacksonville Jaguars have only been good in my 16 years living in Jacksonville for about, 2 or 3 seasons. And most of that success has not came in the last decade. So, the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to hold on to a guy who does want to be there. That's not good for a team that has a lot of pressure to win this year or is supposedly trying to rebuild. Look at the Miami Dolphins last season. When the Miami Dolphins were getting blown out by the New England Patriots and the Baltimore Ravens and everybody else at the start of the season, and all of these players, Kenyon Drake, Minka Fitzpatrick, wanted out and they wanted to get traded, did you see the Miami Dolphins trying to hold on to those guys? No, you did not. What did the Miami Dolphins do? They stripped those guys out as soon as they asked for a trade. Because they know if you keep those guys, you're not going to be able to rebuild and you're not going to be able to move forward as a franchise. When you're going to have cancers in the locker room that don't buy in to what the vision of the Miami Dolphins staff is. Listen, do you think the Miami Dolphins wanted to trade Minka Fitzpatrick after they wasted a first round pick on him? No, they did not. Do you think they wanted to trade Kenyon Drake? No, they did not. But what did they do? They traded those guys anyway because they recognized how much keeping those guys will negatively affect them going forward. You can't move forward as a franchise when you got players that want to move backwards. For you to be a successful organization, you got to have players that have one goal in mind, that has the same goal as you. That's how teams win Super Bowls. Yannick Ngakoue does not have the same goals as everybody else in that Jacksonville Jaguars locker room. His goal is to get the F out of Jacksonville. That's what his goal is. He doesn't want to play for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So why keep him? And this just goes to show you why this Jacksonville Jaguars organization has been as bad as it is, why they don't sell tickets. They paid a few years ago to get a pool inside the stadium. They paid a few years ago to have one of the world's largest scoreboards, but yet they don't produce no wins. They don't put no points up on it. And basically nobody or little to no people come to the games. And that's all because the Jacksonville Jaguars front office has been absolutely terrible. I was in 5th grade when general manager Dave Caldwell first got hired by the Jacksonville Jaguars. And now, we fast forward in time, I'm 1 week removed from about to graduate high school, and Dave Caldwell is still the general manager of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And how many times has the Jacksonville Jaguars been to the playoffs under Dave Caldwell? 1. And you can't even give him credit for that. That's because of Tom Coughlin. And then, even then, he messed up the Jacksonville Jaguars locker room when he was trying to make the Jacksonville Jaguars football team a military academy. So you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you refuse to trade Yannick Ngakoue, and you're trying to force him to play for you, even though he does want to play for you. That's like working for your boss, and you have an employee that wants to get fired, but your boss does not want to fire him. That makes no sense to me. How can you move forward? How can you grow as a team when you have players that don't have the same mindset as the rest of the team, as the rest of the players in the organization? To win and have success in the NFL, it has to be one team, one goal. Everybody has to have the same goal, the same objective, and the same mission. Yannick Ngakoue does not have that same goal, that same mission, that same objective as the rest of the players in the Jacksonville Jaguars. His goal is to get out of Jacksonville. He does not want to play for the Jacksonville Jaguars no freaking more. And you can't trade him, basically, because at this point, you can only get a 6th, 7th round pick for him. Because now I really see why the Jacksonville Jaguars don't want to trade him. Because there's no possible way that you trade him and win anything. The guy wants out, and you waited so long to trade him when you could have traded him when he initially wanted out, before he was arguing back and forth with who? Sean Khan's son on Twitter? This is supposed to be a professional ran organization where professionals in the front office that are supposed to have more maturity than me that are arguing back and forth with players on freaking Twitter. Are you serious? And people wonder why, and Jacksonville Jaguar fans wonder why their team freaking sucks. People wonder why the Jacksonville Jaguars haven't been all that great over the last decade. They've only been to one playoffs. And you can tell the Jacksonville Jaguars have been great because Jacksonville Jaguar fans, that's all they talk about is that magical 2017 season. That's all they bring up. But I promise you, in the next 2 decades, Jacksonville Jaguar fans are still going to be telling their grandkids and their grandparents about the 2017 season when nobody else in the NFL is going to be remembering that crap. So look, the Jacksonville Jaguars refused to trade Yannick Ngakoue, and it makes no sense, and it is a reason why the Jacksonville Jaguars are one of the worst franchises in the NFL and in sports. It makes no sense to keep a guy that doesn't want to be there. That's like you still being in a relationship with your girlfriend just because she doesn't have the balls to break up with you because she doesn't want to hurt your feelings. But you know the relationship isn't what it used to be. You know the love isn't there anymore. She just doesn't want to break up with you to hurt your feelings. But you still keep trying to make things work even though things will never get better. That's what the Jacksonville Jaguars look like. They look like that boyfriend that has a scarcity mindset, that doesn't know how to move on, doesn't know how to move forward with their life, and keeps holding on to old belongings that need to be thrown in the trash. If you're Jacksonville Jaguars, Yannick Ngakoue needs to be thrown in the freaking trash and traded to another football team at this point. Makes no sense keeping a guy that does not want to play for you. That does nothing but hurts the locker room, and your team never moves forward because of it. And it becomes a distraction. When you look at what Don Monroe and this Jacksonville Jaguars front office and coaching staff is supposed to be doing this season, I'm taking it that Sean Khan brought them back because he's under the impression that this is going to be a playoff team. But Jacksonville Jaguar fans wonder why I don't have this as a playoff freaking team. You see, a lot of people want to blame Tom Coughlin, but I still see a lot of dysfunctionality in the Jacksonville Jaguars front office. You got guys going back and forth with Yannick Ngakoue, a guy who wants to be traded on Twitter. That's lowering his trade value. He didn't even do anything. He just made a tweet, and you just go ahead and you just get upset and you just go ahead and have a Twitter war with them about it. That doesn't look like a great organization to me. I don't see nobody in the Pittsburgh Steelers front office arguing with anybody on Twitter. I didn't see nobody on Twitter in the Pittsburgh Steelers front office arguing with Antonio Brown when he wanted to get traded. I don't see nobody in New England. I don't see Bill Belichick on Twitter arguing with any players that made one out. I don't see nobody in Philadelphia's front office arguing with any players on Twitter that won out. This is the reason why the Jacksonville Jaguars suck. And I know it sounds harsh, but that is the God honest truth. If a guy does not want to be there, you trade him. You trade him. You don't force guys to play that do not want to be there. Now I understand, if you can't find a great trade partner right now, and you're waiting for things to get a little bit better, then yeah, I understand you don't have to immediately trade a player, but eventually you should want to trade a player. Like with the Jalen Ramsey incident, this guy had to make up all kinds of excuses. Then his baby, ironically, was born when he didn't want to play for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Jacksonville Jaguars ain't want to trade him until after the midway point of the NFL season. It should not take that long to trade a guy who does not want to be there. Now I understand you can try to talk things out, but if you try to talk things out and things still don't improve, you got to get rid of him. You got to get rid of him. Like, the guy, you franchise the guy who does not want to be there. Like, that made no sense to me. I can understand if he was still under contract, but you franchise the guy when you just could have let him be a free agent, or you just could have traded him. That makes no sense to me. This is the reason why the Jacksonville Jaguars are one of the worst franchises in the NFL. They don't know how to move on from players, And they argue with players back and forth who want to get traded on Twitter. The Jacksonville Jaguars are a good example of how not to build a front office, and how not to build a winning culture, and how not to build a winning team.